I want to give you an update on where things are and what we know. First of all, just what Mr. Trish said, we were disappointed to hear the news last night also, and what Texas Brine had to say. We want to make it clear the scientific investigation into the cause of that collapse is ongoing. The statement that they gave is not something that we are going forward with. We want to make sure that we find out what the link is to the sinkhole and the natural gas that's been seen in the aquifer and in the bayous in this area. Texas Brine will be held accountable for the damage to their cavern. We're going to show you that. The allegation that regional seismic activity was the cause of the breach of the abandoned cavern was made without any prior discussion, as Parish President Trish said, or consultation with the Office of Conservation, the Science Work Group, or Assumption Parish. In doing so, the company elected to let its own interest guide a premature conclusion, lacking sufficient supporting analysis, breaking away from the ongoing cooperative work group that we had going on to apply scientific principles to determine causes and impacts. They broke away from that. A particular note, we want to point out that Texas Brine stated that USGS monitoring indicated regional seismic activity was the cause of the cavern collapse. USGS, we spoke to them today, they stated plainly to us today, the folks from USGS, that the cavern collapse caused the seismic activity, not the other way around. Texas Brine cited in its press release scientific studies the company has commissioned and review of data by experts. The company has not shared any of those studies with us, the state, the parish, the science work group, nor have they shared the identities of the experts who they are saying have presented this information. To ensure we get all of that information, the Commissioner of Conservation today issued an order to them to strengthen the instruction to Texas Brine to report findings and changing conditions in the caverns immediately by placing it in the form of an order to Texas Brine. Additionally, the company will also be required to turn over the studies and data that they claim in their press release that there's a proof of seismic cause for the cavern collapse. So we're looking for that information. We see no science that supports that. We want to see what they have. We're continuing to search for the cause of the cavern collapse. We're going to maintain a constant and active presence in the parish, just as we have been throughout, and on the well site, including 24/7 oversight of the well site by the Office of Conservation staff to ensure safe and responsible operations. They've been out there since the beginning of the drilling of the well. We've had staff out there. You all in the community have seen them around. They're here. They're working around the clock 12-hour shifts. The Office of Conservation is also contract staff from the Shaw Group on the drilling site. These are geophysical experts who are very familiar with the testing that is going on. They're performing ongoing testing and analysis. They obtained samples of the material that was identified in that press release that was collected from the cavern floor. We have that sample in our possession. We're working with these geophysical experts to identify the appropriate tests that we need to run on that sample to determine the root cause. We've got sampling of natural gas in the cavern. The cavern was entered late Saturday night, as most of you know. When that cavern was entered, there was some natural gas and some fluids. DEQ was out here and they gathered samples of that material. We are sending those samples off to our contract laboratory to do the isotopic analysis that are needed to assist with identification of the source of this material. We're analyzing any fluids encountered in the cavern. The tests that were done thus far, when the testing began, there was a casing collar log, also known as a sinking bar. Some of this is not exactly my area of expertise to explain that to you, but I'll do the best I can. In that testing, they recognized that the floor of the cavern was higher than it should have been, and there was some material that had slumped into the cavern somehow. What the cause of that is what the rest of the testing is supposed to show us. So we know that that material is there. We have a sample of that material, and then there's additional tests to be conducted. There's a pulse neutron log that was also performed, and that tells you about the presence of hydrocarbon and any interface that occurs there. So we're going to be getting that information from our folks who are out there logging all the data and providing that to us, and we'll be sharing that information with the science work group, and we'll be sharing it with you all as soon as we get all the data and are able to interpret and know what it means. Additionally, they attempted to do a sonar test last night. The first probe that they used was not successful. It was not the proper probe for the environment they were encountering. So they then got another probe sent over here. They started that sometime midday today, and that test is just being completed as we speak. It may have been finished as we speak. Some of you may know that. You may have contacts that tell you that. My people are telling me that they're just finishing up the test, and we're looking at the results right now, and they're planning to flare. So there will be some additional testing. I know many of you in this crowd have approached us and said, why not this test? What about that test? We have other tests that are going on. Our experts are driving what the tests are going to be. You know, we have talked to Shaw, and we are getting them to do a root cause analysis for us, an independent study that will be performed by the Shaw experts that they bring on to what is the root cause of the cavern failure. We want an independent study, looks at all the data, collects whatever data is necessary, and we'll do that analysis and we'll report back when we have those results. It's not going to be a quick thing. We're not going to know it tomorrow, but we want to know what caused this cavern collapse. We want it to be an independent study, and whatever those results are, that's what caused it. So we're getting that done. We spoke with Shaw. We met with them again today to reaffirm that we want that done, and we want the best people they can find to get that work done. So all of these tests, along with the cooperative tests we've been working with DEQ to collect throughout the area, are all going to be put together, provided to the experts that we have Shaw bringing on, provided to the experts we brought together as part of our science work group, and continue to bring that forward and figure out what the ongoing situation is, how we resolve it, how we bring you all back to a normal lifestyle here, and how we get conditions under control. The Office of Conservation, we've also tasked Shaw's experts to perform additional evaluation of the gas data that we've been collecting and having people analyze and review. You've seen some of the information we have where we have looked at that data. We're needing additional information there, both on sample data collected, additional samples collected. We're providing them with that additional information. We'll be collecting those samples. We're going to tell them, you know, there's two primary questions we have to answer. First one, is it formation gas, or has that gas been processed? That's been a difficult question to answer. The second thing, if you prove that it is processed gas, can we say whose gas it is? So those are the two basic questions that we are trying to get answered. And I wish I could tell you today I had that answer. The only answer we have so far is that is what is called thermogenic gas, which means that it's not swamp gas, and I think we all knew from the amount of gas, we all knew that. So we know that much. We've had lots of folks who are much smarter than me looking at all this information and trying to help us determine that, and they're telling us we need more information, and we're telling them, bring on the people you need to give us this information and tell us what those answers are. We want that done. We want it done quickly. Any new parameters we need to add to the sampling suite, we'll add them. We're asking, you know, tell us what you need us to do. We're going to do it. We're going to get you the results so we can get the answers to these two very basic questions that have been very difficult to solve. I know a lot of people have been impatient with that, and I understand that situation, but it has been a complex question, more complex than I think anyone could understand at this point, based on the people that we have talked to who we thought would have those answers.